Hey fellas, well, I just have one big assignment planned before I'm finished with my online classes tomorrow, so today I thought I would get you something that's my little reaction and thoughts on the stream of PS5, the future of gaming, which was going to be last week, but for fairly obvious reasons got pushed back to this one. And so I'm gonna give my brief thoughts on what all was thrown off in there, what stood out at me. I'll get out of the way that I still think the DualSense looks really impressive, and even though I'm not really into the too many simulation sports games, I'll admit that even with the microtransaction controversies and more recent installments, that NBA 2K21 looks impressive. I mean, they've always had a bit of an edge over the NBA Live series as a rival, so let's get this going. Okay, so most of these games I will not be going over the release dates unless I have some, since some of them might even come out till next year, if not longer. So, starting with Grand Theft Auto 5 Enhanced will be coming in 2021. So, still no full on GTA 6 just yet, but I actually kind of like that given how much time I logged in the PS3 version of the game and how it definitely makes me want to reinstall the PS4 version and play that yet again. I mean, what else would I be doing in this situation? And also, that's one of the returning games I'll be enhanced with this platform, but there'll be plenty of other stuff coming, such as Spider-Man Miles Morales. I have not finished playing the first game just yet, but uh, given the success and acclaim of Into the Spider-Verse, as well as the fact that Miles and his family played a big part in the last game, it makes sense to focus the next one on him before we get a full-on sequel. And not sure what they're going to do with his character, but I like how Spider-Verse made him more sympathetic than he was in the comics, so there's that, man. Gran Turismo 7. I think it's been also helpful on the installment, and I've always appreciated the realism they've had in simulation racing for these games. Not just in terms of the cars, but also in the environments you race them in, because the clouds there look as almost real as the actual sky. Just something that's how advanced tech has gotten in just my lifetime alone. Heck, even just for the past quarter of a century alone. Sometimes it's the simple things you end up enjoying. Yeah. Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart, the latest installment in Insomniac's long-running Ratchet and Clank series. They've always kind of liked the Atmos developer. That's on top of their work on the Spider-Man game I just mentioned, and that I'm really interested in see how the story's going to be like, as well as the whole going through dimensional rifts. And how that will relate to the gameplay and the story. I'm not sure what's gonna happen to Ratchet, let alone who this other other one is that Clank is gonna be involved with. All right. So, Square Enix has proxed Athia, a working title. This looks like it'd be a very unique kind of first-person action game with what I definitely would like to have more of those, and then also be played other titles that were in the stream. So, yeah. There's also Stray that's also gonna be coming in 2021, and that's which in a world where machines have officially taken over to a point where humans must stay in hiding. There's a cat that I think you're going to be playing as. Just don't pay much attention to that. It's something going on outside. Alright, and before I get cut off again, I just mentioned the ray tracing, how effective that's already been for graphical capabilities. It's gonna have a 4K UHD drive. I've right out of the box. Probably not going to be getting digital only version, mainly because, let me put it this way, my PS2 was my first DVD player that I personally owned, as with my PS3 being my first Blu-ray player that I personally owned. Most likely it's going to follow the same pattern here. I don't have a 4K monitor yet, but if more games and other content can be coming out in the format, then this will definitely be something that will interest me. So, this platform is going to have a lot of adventure games, looks like. I mean, we've got Returnal and Sackboy: A Big Adventure, which is not a full-on New Little Big Planet game, but it takes place in the same universe and features the same mascot from those titles. Destruction All-Stars will be kind of like a sort of like a Destruction Derby-centric Battle Royale title, looks like. That'll be an interesting mashup. Even someone who's not played that many Battle Royale titles, looks like it'll definitely be something I'll be looking forward to. These next few ones look like they'll be really ones that'll be worth exploring. Like, only one has a release date so far, though. Oh, there is Ember Labs, Kina, Bridge of Spirits. Definitely should be a unique take on the afterlife. On a much smaller scale, KO OP's Goodbye Volcano High. I mean, definitely I'm open to more narrative-based games of this nature. It reminds me of kind of the other one that just came out not too long ago, Night in the Woods. I've not played one yet, but I want to. I mean, it's also coming out in 2021, but just this whole visual of one of the people that's burning their yearbook in a bonfire during graduation night. It's definitely a very powerful visual, I mean. And before I get too heavy, Oddworld Soulstorm, or I mean, I've always been a big fan of Oddworld Creations, how they've been managing to handle their content with stuff such as Abe's Odyssey, Munch's Odyssey, my personal favorite, Stranger's Wrath. Looks like it'll have that same kind of unique gameplay and humor often associated with the franchise, so I'll be looking forward to playing that. Ghostwire Tokyo. Did not hear it that much when I first saw it unveiled a while ago, but now that there's been more revealed about it, how that's, especially with a developer as like Shinji Mikami involved, I am very much looking forward to seeing what comes of it. Super Brothers Jet: The Farthest Shore, which will come out this holiday season, and yeah, I mean, definitely should be a unique title. I mean, we have, at one point you have people that dress like they're in the 17th century, and then there's giant robots and they're going to space. I'd definitely like to hear more about that one. Yeah. Okay, so picking up where I just left off. Godfall, which will be by Gearbox and Counterplay, will also be coming out this holiday season. And I think this may have been revealed before, and just being expanded on, but not entirely sure. I mean, and Solar Ash, which will be coming out again 2021. And yep. So there was definitely, I like how minimalist the art style is. Like, it definitely still pops, like, because of how there's not that many, the characters all have some non-script features, like how they're wearing masks or just bits of shadow, but they stand out lots of the backgrounds. Hitman 3, January 2021. It's amazing how far that series has come, and even though the more recent ones have often been not the best installment, I'm definitely interested to see where this trilogy ends, at least. I mean, and one interesting thing, I mean, that because I was watching the stream mostly on PS4, actually for the PS button, and that actually hailed the another title that's going to be coming to the system, Astro's Playroom. Though, I do hope it ends up being having more staying power than, say, Knack and its sequel did. I mean, while it was an interesting idea at the time, as more games came out, the novelty kind of wore off. Of Knack, especially when how developers were able to make use of the tech a bit more impressively, but especially with other games that are going to be revisited here. But another one that stands out would be Little Devil Inside by NeoStream, which definitely be a very unique take on this premise. As to put it bluntly, and I'm not sure what the gameplay is going to be like, but I always kind of like that concept and how the style of the game they're definitely showing off with. Case in point, a potential new IP, Bug Snacks. You know the whole saying that you are what you eat? Well, this game takes it literally. Where this quasi Crocodile Dundee-esque guide, it has one arm turn into a strawberry, and the other turn into a curly fry, and all sorts of creatures to consume more at once, such as the little crab apples and ice cream worms, things like that. It's also becoming this holiday season, and these last titles are definitely ones I'm glad they kind of saved some of the best ones for lives, because some of the ones I'm actually most excited about. Out 3 words to start you off: Demons Souls Remaster. They just put out one of the first 2 Dark Souls games. I think the third one and Bloodborne already developed for the newer hardware in general, and I guess they finally cleared the rights for this one, and it's gonna be looks really great on the new platform. While not the first game to outright say you died, it's the game over, was personally the first one I played with actually was a required part of the process, and I'm kind of old fashioned. I don't see difficulty as a deterrent by any means if the rest of the game is designed well enough that makes you want to keep playing despite the difficulty, or perhaps because of it, to overcome the challenge. So, yeah. Even though there's no release date for that one yet, I'm really looking forward to that one coming out, obviously. Here's one that I really hope is good, even with the company's recent and track record. Deathloop, an assassin shooter by Bethesda, in which you're a hitman who's caught in a time loop of trying to avoid getting killed by your rivals. So basically, it's like a noirish version of Groundhog Day or Majora's Mask, that kind of gameplay loop. Taken to its logical extreme. I hope they pull it off gameplay wise, especially after even someone who has not played Fallout 76 admitted to be one of the people who was hoping they could pull it off, then that hope was ended up being completely dashed. But they got a new console, and so I really hope the game is more like older Bethesda than current Bethesda, if that makes sense. Yeah. And another big one that threw me for a loop, Capcom thought that this wouldn't work, but I'm gonna let them know now. You have been proven pleasantly wrong for Resident Evil 8 Village, which will again come in 2021. I'm glad that after RE6 trying unsuccessfully to ride Call of Duty's coattails, that they've gone back to the horror roots of the series. Series that made it work to begin with. And with this coming out next year, Here, I definitely have a mind when the action complements the horror rather than completely overshadows it. I mean, even in the remakes of the early ones, and still working different way because you don't have the tank controls, but it's more like in RE4 where there's a mixture of quick time events and different kind of strategy where you're still in an environment where there's not a whole place to escape to. I mentioned when I was playing like the RE3 remake demo. When I did encounter Nemesis, my first instinct was alone, and the tone could very much pretend to like be like the series Last of Us or Logan even. Yeah. And one that definitely looks very intriguing to me is Pragmata. I mean, it starts out with a young girl and you dressed up like an astronaut. I mean, it's implied that the world has not been in the best shape by the time you meet her. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? So, even though she doesn't even have any shoes on by the time you get to her, I mean, but it's easy to see how this game turns out when it comes out in 2022, so it means like the console will be out for at least a couple years by that point. Definitely not, even though I'm not getting made away, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on this one, so even if it means girls barefoot on the moon. So, and there's a Doctor Who reference for you, so yeah. And last but definitely not least, the long awaited sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West. I mean, which features the same protagonist as the previous game, which I've really been enjoying. Because of this current situation with the outbreak, I managed to get farther in it than I have in the past few months. And I haven't only have almost an entire year here, so I definitely been looking forward to exploring more of this world. And the concept fascinated me ever since I saw the first game unveiled, where you have a society which is heavily influenced by older Norse cultures, but they're hunting machines that were left by a past civilization to a point where their origins are the subject of legend and myth. And just the idea of finding more of the world itself is going to be one of the most intriguing aspects to me. Once the game does come out, it doesn't have a release date, but it's both. Thankfully, Guerrilla Games are going to be directly involved all again. And given how, even though the previous games, the Killzone series, never became the Halo killer expecting, they did carve out their own niche on the platform, and so they are more than a worthy alternative. So there's that. As for the console itself, I really like the design of it, to be honest. Looking like an IP router kind of isn't that much a stretch if the Series X looks kind of like a gaming PC, and the Switch has the same internals as an iPad and has some similar functions to one. So again, it's not nearly as radical a design as the original PS3, which looked kind of like a Foreman grill. I mean, like, do I want to play a game or watch a movie in HD, or do I want to grill something that drains the fat but seals in the juicy flavor? Yeah. So I thought I would get you something before I work on some other videos as well as my last big assignment for my classes. So we plan to stream tomorrow onward, so just have to wait and see what it is. As I got in store for you later.